$1.87. That was all, and 60 cents of it was in pennies. Pennies saved 1 and 2 at a time by bulldozing the grocer and the vegetable man and the butcher until one's cheeks burned with the silent imputation of parsimony that such close dealing implied. 3 times Della counted it, $1.87. And the next day would be Christmas. There was clearly nothing to do but flop down on the shabby little couch and howl. So Della did it. In 1905, a struggling writer sat down and wrote a story that's been retold, parodied, and stolen from ever since. And it opens with a woman crying over $1.87. If you've ever heard someone say it's the thought that counts and thought that sounded a bit hollow, stick around, because this is the story that actually earned that phrase. This is The Gift of the Magi by O. Henry. 2 things worth catching there. First, the word parsimony. It just means being extremely stingy with money, almost embarrassingly so. Della's ashamed of how hard she's had to haggle over pennies, even though she had no choice. Second, notice the tone. Oh, Henry isn't asking you to feel sorry for her. Flop down on the couch and howl is almost comic. He's writing real poverty with a light, teasing voice, which tells you this story is heading somewhere other than straight tragedy. Now there were 2 possessions of the James Dillingham Youngs in which they both took a mighty pride. One was Jim's gold watch that had been his father's and his grandfather's. The other was Della's hair. Had the Queen of Sheba lived in the flat across the air shaft, Della would have let her hair hang out the window some day to dry, just to depreciate Her Majesty's jewels and gifts. Had King Solomon been the janitor, with all his treasures piled up in the basement, Jim would have pulled out his watch every time he passed, just to see him pluck at his beard from envy. This paragraph is doing one job, telling you exactly what these 2 people have to lose. The Queen of Sheba and King Solomon are both legendary figures from the Bible, famous for wealth beyond imagination. And oh, Henry is saying Della's hair and Jim's watch would outshine even that. It's a setup. Once a writer tells you a character's most prized possession this clearly, start expecting it to be at risk by the end of the story. Where she stopped, the sign read, Madame Sofronie, hair goods of all kinds. 1 flight up Della ran, and collected herself, panting. Madame, large, too white, chilly, hardly looked the Sofronie. Will you buy my hair? Asked Della. I buy hair, said Madame. Take your hat off and let's have a sight at the looks of it. Down rippled the brown cascade. $20, said Madame, lifting the mass with a practised hand. Give it to me quick, said Della. Notice how fast this scene moves. Short sentences, almost no description, dialogue with barely a beat between lines. Compare that to the slower, more decorated sentences earlier. O. Henry speeds up his own writing style to match how quickly Della is moving before she can change her mind. That's a technique worth noticing in your own reading. Sentence length can carry emotion just as much as word choice does. It was a platinum fob chain, simple and chaste in design, properly proclaiming its value by substance alone and not by meretricious ornamentation, as all good things should do. It was even worthy of the watch. 2 vocabulary words worth having in your pocket. Chaste here doesn't mean what it usually means in everyday English. It means simple, plain, without excess decoration. And meretricious means attractive on the surface but cheap or fake underneath, showy without real value. Put those 2 words together and oh, Henry is quietly stating the whole theme of the story. Real value isn't in decoration, it's in what something costs you to give. Jim stopped inside the door as immovable as a setter at the scent of quail. His eyes were fixed upon Della, and there was an expression in them that she could not read, and it terrified her. It was not anger, nor surprise, nor disapproval, nor horror, nor any of the sentiments that she had been prepared for. He simply stared at her fixedly with that peculiar expression on his face. A setter is a hunting dog, and this is the exact moment it freezes when it catches a scent. That's the image. Total stillness, total focus. And notice what O. Henry does next. He lists 5 emotions Jim's face is not showing. Not anger, not surprise, not disapproval, not horror. By telling you everything it isn't, he keeps you guessing exactly as hard as Della is guessing. That's suspense built entirely through negation. "Don't make any mistake, Del," he said, "about me. I don't think there's anything in the way of a haircut or a shave or a shampoo that could make me like my girl any less. But if you'll unwrap that package, you may see why you had me going a while at first." "Del," said he, "let's put our Christmas presents away and keep 'em a while. They're too nice to use just at present. I sold the watch to get the money to buy your combs. And now suppose you put the chops on." And there's the twist. Della sold her hair to buy a chain for a watch Jim no longer has. Jim sold his watch to buy combs for hair Della no longer has. This is what's called situational irony, when the actual outcome is the opposite of what you'd expect, given the setup. Not a coincidence, not bad luck, but a direct result of both of them loving each other the same way at the same time. The Magi, as you know, were wise men, wonderfully wise men, who brought gifts to the babe in the manger. They invented the art of giving Christmas presents. Being wise, their gifts were no doubt wise ones, possibly bearing the privilege of exchange in case of duplication. And here, I have lamely related to you the uneventful chronicle of two foolish children in a flat who most unwisely sacrificed for each other the greatest treasures of their house. But in a last word to the wise of these days, let it be said that of all who give gifts, these two were the wisest. Of all who give and receive gifts, such as they are wisest. Everywhere, they are wisest. They are the Magi. And that's the title explained. The Magi were the biblical wise men who brought gifts to the newborn Christ. O. Henry is saying Della and Jim, two broke kids in a rented flat, were just as wise as they were, because real wisdom in gift-giving was never about the object. It's about what you're willing to give up. 3 words worth keeping from this one: parsimony, meretricious, and chaste. If you want the next episode, Pose the Telltale Heart, a masterclass in the unreliable narrator, subscribe and tell me in the comments what you think Della and Jim do the next Christmas.